So, good morning. My name is Rob Corder. I'm the editor of WatchPro. It's April the 21st. And today we're going to be joined by Bremont's co-founder Giles English to talk about all things watches and, of course, what's going on with the coronavirus epidemic. We're just waiting for him to join us in this Zoom meeting. So he'll be with us in just a second. Hi Giles, how you doing? Let me just check my volumes there. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? You're hearing me?
Hold on.
Cool. Now I'm starting to hear you now.
Now I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Hey. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. How are you going?
Yeah, sort of. It's a strange old world we're in at the moment, isn't it?
It's absolutely bizarre. I mean, you just run out of ways to describe it in every conversation, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's the point, and I think yeah, it's just you just don't know where the next stage we're going on the whole thing, do you? And you just got to sort of totally change everything you've been doing before and get on down. But and you're sort of, have you furloughed a lot of your staff? Are you all fully operational? Or?
We're fully operational. Nobody furloughed, nobody redundant. There's been a couple of significant pay cuts, myself, for example. But in general, we've managed to keep going because, I mean, really the way we operate, we've got 2 people per title. We've got 10 titles and we have 1 commercial, one editor. So unless I'm closing titles, there's not a lot I can do to shrink things down. But we're all working from home, and obviously revenues are well down. So we're cutting costs where we can, but trying to keep things moving. And I guess that's what everyone's trying to do in their own ways.
I think we're all very much in the same boat on this whole thing, isn't it? That's the weird thing. Is normally, when industries are difficult, it's targeting certain demographics, isn't it, or certain sectors. But we're all in, and we're all making similar decisions. I think it's probably how hard and can you survive, isn't it?
So what does day-to-day or week to week operations look like for Bremont at the moment?
We've furloughed a load of people, but we're still manufacturing. So our core business, obviously, the wholesale has completely stopped around the world, and all the cruise industry and everything else. A little bit of business in Asia, and our store is still open in Hong Kong, but very slow at the moment. But we're lucky that our military business still keeps going.
Okay.
And our online business is still there. So we have some business, but you're having to make drastic cuts to cope with everything. And we're lucky we're in a strong position. We've got good backing from the bank and our investors. So I think this is key for any business. It's just getting through this. You've got to survive, don't you? And if you can survive and come out of it the other side, you'll be fine. And I suppose the concern is if you're a weak business going into this, then you're going to find it hard. And we will see a load of casualties, I'm sure of it, from both retailers and brands out there. We're working hard to, and actually it's, in a way, there is a real challenge here. How do you change what you do? And how do you change quick enough in terms of anything from marketing to efficiencies internally to product? You've got to work hard at that, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 2020 was shaping up to be probably the big year for Bremont, wasn't it? It was going to be the year, hopefully, when we see the new in-house movement and maybe the new headquarters. I mean, I know these things have all been a little bit movable, but it was, it couldn't have come at a worse time in a way for you.
Well, I tell you what was really depressing. You're right. It was a really positive year. January, February were really strong months as well. We felt we got out of the whole Brexit. We weren't, we haven't been reliant on Chinese coming in, so that hit sort of earlier. So yeah, we're really positive about it. That's this is life. You get whacked. I think we launched a year or two before the last financial crisis. So we've lived through two of these, and you just have to adapt. And the key for us is coming out of it a strong business. So that is, you can quite easily crawl up into a ball and not continue to market yourselves, not continue to push and innovate and design all the stuff that I think you have to do. And none of us know how much of a V or a U it is to get out of this and quite how it's going to affect. So the only way you can do it really is just plan for a pessimistic outcome. So it's going to take a while to come back to your old scale of business, and you've got to plan accordingly. And if it's more of a V, then great. But I'm quite pessimistic for next year's revenue accordingly. Because if you've got how quickly will it bounce back? I'm positive people are still buying watches out there, and people are still interested. We know that something like 20% of people's wealth in our market are spending it on holidays and eating out. So they haven't been doing any of that. So there is some
plenty to go after.
There's some pent up demand going on out there. But how is it going to change the way we all live our lives afterwards? And frankly, if I have to get on a plane less, that'd be brilliant. I'm all for staying at home more. But so it's been a weird one for me because I spent my life traveling around and doing events and everything, and all of that has sort of disappeared. But how are you finding it from your side with the retailers you're speaking to as well?
Well, I mean, they're all suffering. I'm sure you're hearing the same stories yourself. I mean, they range from people who have incredibly wealthy customer bases, and they can pretty much assign one salesperson to phone them, WhatsApp them, tell them what's available, arrange for deliveries one way or another. And they're, but even in a business that's in that good shape, they're probably talking about sales being down 80%. Some are down the best part of 100%, particularly those without e-commerce. But I've heard nobody talk about anything less bad than 80% sales down and burning through cash and furloughed workers and you name it. But at the same time, these are all business owners like yourself who are going to find a way through it to survive. And I think all you can really prepare for in some ways is to emerge maybe a little bit ahead with market share. So you're not actually going to be anywhere near ahead in terms of sales, maybe not for a few more years, but as long as you can come through it and rebuild from there, then you can take a long-term view, which of course the watch industry is pretty good at.
Yeah, I think that's the crux is survival. You've got to get through this. You've got to make the right decisions, cut hard now. It's set that it's going to go on a long time. And we're doing our best to support these retailers as well. So, for example, if they sell a watch, we'll send it out from our HQs. They don't have to go into their stores, or if they don't have it, they don't have to invest up front. Trying to give them, we got some a new watch we're launching on Friday that is catered for people at home. So the way it's just the whole watch is configured, which we believe as a product will help these retailers as well, and they can promote that on their websites without having to make upfront investment for it, because we know as a watch company that no one's going to buy at the moment, as in wholesale. So we've got to make it easy for them. Lots of discussions going on in regards cash collection from every way, shape or form, and that's hard for everyone. really hard for everyone. But I think we're trying our best to support our retailers, because we're all in this together. And I know what it's like. We've got our own stores. We're having to do our negotiations with the landlords and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
We're all very much in this together. And I think if you can come out and still have a half decent Christmas, that's really the aim. So we're thinking that it's going to be pretty much terrible revenues until October hits in, and then it gets more positive.
We've seen different tactics from different brands in terms of their launch program this year. So some of it because the likes of Baselworld and Watches and Wonders have been disrupted. But I think in the cases of, say, Rolex and Patek Philippe, which Patek won't launch anything this year, and Rolex hasn't given any indication of when it might launch product this year. I mean, are you kind of in the same boat that it's more it's less of a drain on cash and resources if you don't push out new products this year, and focus maybe on manufacturing bestsellers and maybe some limited editions, which you're very well known for and very strong in?
Yeah, we're Rolex and Patek are in their own hemisphere. They can take whatever they want, but we still feel that you've got to keep that energy and momentum going. And by doing that, yes, we're stripped out what we're launching this year, but we're still launching some product, because I feel the industry needs that as much as anything. You need newness, you need to keep that excitement going. If you stop all of that, then I just think it's detrimental to everyone. So I think keeping that energy, excitement going, but you can't just do the same volume of product and put it out there, because no one's going to buy it. Your wholesale's not going to buy it. So you've got to do something slightly differently. So we're trying to keep that interest going, but stripping down the number of launches. We obviously launched our NIMS, the limited edition watch, just before the lockdown. Actually a few days before lockdown, but so we launched that with our at the same time we did the NIMS watch. We got out our Jet P50 ALT1P2 Jet watch, which has gone down very well, and also our Griffin watch. So we had 3 watch launches literally about 2 days or a week before the lockdown. So we're pleased we got those out, and then we will be releasing this one on Friday, and then later on the year, yes, we'll bring more out, but we're staggering it, and that makes it easier for everyone as well. So rather than do a whole lot in one go, which I think is going to confuse it, we're staggering it, and we're lucky. We have been sort of planning our own launches our own way since we started the townhouse concept several years ago. So we've always had that flexibility. But if you're a brand that you build everything up to go and present it at Basel or Geneva, you're suddenly losing that flexibility in what you're trying to do, which I think at these times makes it quite difficult. But we're in a different, and we're not a big beast like some of these Swiss businesses where it's harder to turn it in the tide. And that being nimble is something we're going to try and make the most of in this crisis. Is we are nimble. Yes, we've still got big overheads. Yes, we have to change things. So our new, obviously, building work has stopped on our new facility. So that will be pushed back at least probably 6 months, end of the year, next year, which is frustrating, but bad timing wise, it doesn't matter really. And other investment projects we're just having to sort of delay paying the bills on, as everyone else is. So, but I think it's going to knock us back and everyone else back a few years. There's no doubt about that. But come out of it kicking and running and screaming and survive.
You've mentioned survive. You've used the word survive a few times already. Are there any deep-seated concerns keeping you awake at night that you might not make it through?
No, my concern is not us making through, because I know we will. Right. Is all of our wholesales, our retailers that we've known for years and worked with them. That's my concern, is that some of those won't make it. Yeah, we have a big cruise market. You know, that's a good part of our business out of the cruise industry. What's going to happen with that? So there are lots of issues out there that we have concerns about. We're lucky. We will get through it, and we've got that foundation to be able to do that. But I don't think, you know, there won't be not everyone's going to manage to do that.
Mm. I mean, I suppose one of the advantages you have is that you're not really a brand that's heavily reliant on Chinese customers spending. You have a very strong domestic market, and you mentioned the military business as well, which I would definitely include in domestic business. Do you think that gives you a bit more of an edge, and your retailers a bit more of an edge?
I think we've always been quite well spread as a business. We started online quite early. We have the military. We're spread around the world. I think the Chinese market is going to be a fascinating one. So I'm hearing lots of data and chat just about how, and this will obviously, the Chinese won't travel as much, but their domestic market will increase considerably. So the chat historically is about, you know, one watch sold in China, 4 or 5 watches are sold outside as a brand.
To the Chinese.
Yeah. You market into China, but actually, you know, 4 or 5 out of those single watches get bought outside. That's going to change. So it's going to be a domestic market in China, and we're hearing some of the big brands will be launching more boutiques in China. It will become more of a domestic market. So I can see that happening, which I think if you're a retailer, you know, totally dependent on Chinese coming over, that will challenge you, or just travelers, full stop. So if we look at London as a market with lots of foreign travel coming through, but I think for brands, watch brands, they will just focus more in China as opposed to outside. So I think they'll pick up that business there if you're a strong brand. We're not a Chinese brand yet. We do a little bit, but as part of the future investment cycle where you're looking to launch boutiques, China has to be quite high up there. With if you want to go out there and what we know is 40-odd% of the global luxury watch market. So to grow as a global watch brand, you need to sell to Chinese.
You make it sound like it could be difficult for retail groups that have stores in Oxford Street, Regent Street, Knightsbridge, Heathrow Airport, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think they've been retailers have been very clever over the years about they'll lose one market and they'll gain another, and the Chinese stop coming, another market may well. And I think they've been, a lot of these groups have been very good at growing the domestic market, and especially as they've had a good run with currency, but that has been changing anyway. Can the government, can Britain make England an attractive place after this to come to? And we haven't even got onto Brexit. We've all forgotten about that, and the opportunities there. So I think the key is to make Britain an attractive place for London retailers. And yes, it's very easy to become too reliant on a certain demographic. I mean, it was Middle East for years, wasn't it? That was the focus, and then there's Russians, and then Chinese. So I think retailers can switch quite quickly. You just need other people to fill that hole.
And are you seeing any change in customer behaviour during lockdown? I mean, obviously all the stores are closed, so therefore e-commerce is the only way to go. But do you think that might be something that causes a more permanent shift? And might that mean you change your own tactics to be more direct in terms of e-commerce and direct to consumer sales?
I think the world of e-commerce is going to have to change. People are stuck at home and they're buying stuff online, and they'll buy it and like the whole process. But it's never going to be the lion's share of luxury brands. People still want that whole experience. I think where it's going to change us to an extent is probably events. We've always done a lot of events as a brand. Will we start doing less of those, or definitely as soon as the lockdown happens? So the way you market is going to change. I think for years, I go into lots of shopping malls and I'm bored. I'm constantly traveling around the world, and I go into shopping malls everywhere, and they bore me, a lot of them, because retail has lost in a lot of that excitement. There are generic shops everywhere, and I think retail is certainly not dead. It just needs to be exciting and keep that buzz going. And we are selling to that higher echelon, wealthy individuals. If you do cash or wrap, they will go online. You've got to make that an experience. And I think all of these, going through what we're going through now, makes you really, go through all your sort of dirty laundry and look behind, clean under every sofa and the rest of it, to find actually we've got to change here. We've got to really sit down and think about what we can do to change exactly how we're positioning ourselves as a retailer or as a brand. And I think inevitably things will change. And online launches of watches and all of that sort of stuff will become a thing of the norm. So these big global events just won't happen quite the same, because suddenly we're all used to working at home and looking at live Instagram feeds on your phone or computer, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm not sure I totally agree with that. I mean, I'm always a big fan of the event and creating excitement around an event, and also the need to show a watch in person. I've never seen a watch online and then tried it on and seen it doesn't even seem like the same watch to me usually.
Oh, listen, I totally agree with that. But if you can look at the watch, order it, comes the next day, either from a retailer or direct from the brand, you try it on, no, it doesn't feel quite right, send it back the next day. And that's the way all our kids are shopping. So we're just sort of behind the cycle. And I agree, when you're going to a launch of something, you want to go to the launch, but will it be such a big launch? Will it have to be traveling to Geneva, or will it be seeing that brand in London? And I think that's where I'm getting at.
Well, I think I was reading a report, I think it was by McKinsey this morning, and that when it comes to things like retail, you've got to be thinking exceptional now. And what you're describing as just the same experience, no matter which shopping mall you're going to around the world. That's the opposite of exceptional. But we do in our industry, thankfully, have some truly exceptional retailers that I'd literally travel halfway across the country to go and visit.
Oh, and they really do. And you go in and you feel loved, and it's a real experience.
And they know everything about their customers, so it's a great experience.
And that's why those customers will keep going back to those independents. Frankly, they'll probably change brand loyalty if that independent doesn't have that brand, because they trust them. And all these independents and the good multiples we're with and we talk to, they do very much get that.
Mm. Okay, and finally, there's been a couple of stories about Bremont supporting the frontline staff, the NHS workers. Firstly, your offer of making parts for ventilators, and then your charity wristband, which is great. I have one here.
Have you got one? Oh, well done. So that's a lovely food for heroes. So the chap who set it up is a great friend of mine and a Bremont owner, and called John Brownhill, and he was looking to raise funds. So it costs something like £2 to make a meal. They've got restaurants and helpers, fully licensed up individuals to make these meals. Because the problem is with all these hospital workers, and I'd have to take my daughter to A&E at the weekend. There is nothing there, nowhere to go and eat, no cafes open, nothing. So they go in and open up in the car park outside and feed the NHS workers, and doing a brilliant job. And so they were desperate to raise some funds. We were able to make those bracelets very quickly. We had some spare the metal loops that we engraved for them. So we got obviously spare capacity going on at the moment in our facility. So yeah, no, we managed to turn those around in a week, and I think we've got a few left, but they've sold incredibly well. Thank you to everyone who supported them, because it's been a lovely thing to be involved with, and
if you're running out, make more.
The issue is it's not. If we had the blanks, it was easy to do. But yeah, it may well be. But we've raised a good chunk of money for them, and all the profits went to the charity. So
that's great.
It was lovely to do. But yeah, in these times, if we can't make money for ourselves, it's good to make it for charity, isn't it?
Well, no, absolutely. And I think it's also, I think you have to show your brand values at a time like this, and that's a great way of doing it.
Oh no, thank you. But I mean, amazing support actually. Everyone that has sort of we sold a huge number in a couple of days, so I'm really pleased with that.
Great. All right, Giles. Well, I'm sure you got things to get back to. I really appreciate your time today.
Really appreciate it, and thank you, and everyone out there, all those retailers and everyone with those businesses. Get through it, and it'll come back.
Exactly. All right. Hope everything's all right with you guys. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.